And that made you your first million?
That made me my first million.
Wow.
So I may as well give you a bit of the background. So I was a professional kickboxer. I was kickboxing world champion. And fighting is great. And obviously I was in love with fighting for a very long time. But kickboxing is not boxing. You don't make huge sums of money. By the time you pay your manager and you fight twice a year and you got to pay your rent for the year and your training and you got to eat right and your car, et cetera, you're not a rich individual. So even when I was making money with fighting, I had money, but I certainly wasn't rich. And I was trying to do lots of different other things on the side. I was trying to start lots of businesses, et cetera, but it's very difficult to, in fact, I'm gonna take that back. I used to think it was very difficult to make money. Now I think it's the opposite. Now I think it's so easy to make money, it's ridiculous. But I used to think it was very, very difficult to make money. And I was trying to find a way that I could make money from nothing, from thin air. Because this is what most people's problem is. They're trying to start and they're saying, well, I have nothing to start with. I don't have any money. I don't have any credit. I don't have any friends who have money. So how do I start making money? And that's kind of how the webcam business all came about. I knew some very beautiful girls and I just stumbled across this website where girls were talking to guys. And I said to the girls, look, why don't we sit down and let's put a business together. I'll handle the tech and the tax and all that boring stuff. And you just sit there and chat away. And that's the very, very simple version. There's a much longer version of the story online somewhere else already. If someone wants to find it, it's a very, very simple version of how I put together a webcam studio, and that's how I first started to make serious money.
So that's how you started to make money. You don't do that business anymore?
No, I stopped that like 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
So what would you say your main business is now? Where's the money coming from? Because we can see there's a lot of it from the lifestyle, but where's the money coming from?
That's a good question. So there's a few different things I do now. One, I have some casinos in Romania. I own some casinos, which is one of the things I do. But Corona put a little bit of a nail in that. And I don't know how much I'm allowed to say on YouTube, but every chance I get, I love to state the fact that that was the biggest scam in the history of man. And I don't know if we're going to allow this to stay online, but the overreaction from the governments is way past criminal. The things they did to people and the things people had to suffer under the guise of protection and health and safety is literally criminal. There's people who should be in jail right now. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because we're going to talk about this later when we get into property. Yeah. So there's all that Corona thing happened with the casinos. And then I have a very large online presence. I have a very big digital presence. I own a network called The War Room. I'll tell you a really quick story without wanting to talk too much. But when I was poor, and when I say poor, I grew up in the council estate in Luton, so effectively I was poor. When I was poor, I had this idea that once I made money, I'd meet all the other important rich people. And all the other important rich people would just be like this group of Avengers, and we'd like skirt the rules and nothing would apply to us. And we'd be like international with multiple passports and offshore banking and all this. And you just become like a different character in the video game. Like you become Neo outside of the Matrix. And then I started to make a bunch of money and I realized that that's not the case. A lot of people with money are very, very much stuck in the Matrix. They're very, very scared of the tax man and their accountant, and they have to do what they have to be, you know, at this place at this time, and they can't lose the wife because she'll take half the wealth. And most men who have money are completely and utterly trapped. So because I couldn't find these men, even though I managed to become one myself, I created an organization called The War Room, and The War Room has now got 1,700 members, and we're all very, very wealthy, and that's exactly what we are. We're people who are looking to live outside of the constraints of society. And we do that in a very legal way. But we live outside of the constraints of society, and there's lots of ways you can do it. I'll give a very simple example. When you join the War Room, we have a protocol and systems in place that allow people to achieve multiple residencies, lots of different passports. So Corona was a perfect example of when everyone was locked in their house, and I was flying around the world. And everyone said, how do you keep traveling during Corona? We're not allowed to travel. I said, no. The British are not allowed to go here, but the Estonians are. And luckily, I'm Estonian today. Like, if you can whip out 9 different passports, you can do whatever you want, right? Wow. It puts you outside of the jurisdiction of one particular government. So that's what the War Room is. So I have the War Room Network, which is on cultivating.com. That's one of the things I do. And the other thing I do is Hustlers University, which teaches people how to make money online. So we have 18 different professors with 18 different subjects, which teach specifically modern wealth creation methods. Your wealth creation methods work. They're time tested. They certainly work. I can't sit here and honestly say that property won't make someone rich, because it will. But there's also new ways now, and there's new things that have come about in the very most recent weeks and most recent months and years, and that's what we teach inside of Hustlers University. So between those two things, and teaching and the network and having some very powerful friends, I do okay. I have enough money for food. Yeah. I can afford dinner, so I'm doing all right.